Hi, it's Joe with Level Up Your Gym with another episode of our podcast. Before we get into today's topic, you can access our free video series at levelupyourgym.com. We'll dive into much more than we talk about, but we condense it into 3 to 5 minute videos, and we send it directly free to your inbox each morning. It's like a gym business masterclass on the house, right to your inbox, and you can get that at levelupyourgym.com. Today we're going to talk about an important concept in all business, and especially for gyms. It's called the MVP. And no, I'm not talking about the most valuable player. I'm talking about minimal viable product. It's made a big difference in my business because I've gone all in on some concepts that I thought would work before, and I spent too much money and it didn't work out. And I want you to learn from my lessons so you don't make the same blunders as I did early on while I built my company. So minimal viable product works like this. You have an idea or a concept. Say, I want to run a morning session. I want to run a kids class. I want to start a podcast. And instead of going all in on building a podcast studio and making sure everything's perfect and hiring script writers and all that, you simply test it by doing the minimal viable product. You do the minimum amount by also having some value in providing an experience. You just do it in a simplified version, and you deliver it and you test to see if it works before you go all in. My story has to do with the recovery room concept. The Normatec boots and different compression leggings and cryotherapy started to pick up steam a couple years ago in the fitness world. And we thought that members wanted a place to decompress and recover. Often in our intake forms, members indicated that they wanted a stress-free along with weight loss and the typical other things you'd see at a fitness studio. So instead of investing in decking out a new fitness room and investing in cryotherapy, which is very pricey, we decided to try it for MVP. We bought some chairs that were comfortable. We took one of our offices and repainted it. We got a little Amazon tablet and loaded it with meditation stuff, bought noise-canceling headphones, and a knockoff version of the Normatec boots. I think they were called Rapid Reboots. Different brand, still $300-$400 worth of compression boots. And we set it up to see if people would use it to recover. Turns out they didn't. They weren't that interested. They wanted to get out of the gym and get back home, that their scheduling was going to be more important to them. My clients' scheduling were more important than being able to have that as an add-on to their program. So we fortunately were able to pivot. We provided the boots for our athletes, which were more likely to use them, but less likely to pay more for them. And we were able to salvage the office space, and we didn't go all in on a concept that wasn't going to work for us. I'm going to give you a couple more examples. And I was just speaking to a consulting client about this last week. He wanted to launch morning sessions, which I think is a great idea. He said, I'm going to run morning sessions from 6 to 11. That's a big commitment of labor. One of these podcasts, we talk about the utilization of resources. And if you're going to commit 5 hours every day, 5 days a week, or every weekday, 5 days a week, we're talking 25 labor hours to test this concept, whether people would show up or not for morning sessions. And you're also casting a very wide net, assuming people will show up at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock and then closing at 11. So here's what I recommended to him. I said, let's first test the concept with a minimal viable product. Let's do a 6 a.m. for his area. In my area, similar. They're not big commuting facilities, but people want to get in 6 to 7. They can still get to work by 8, no problem. Let's do a 6 a.m. And let's do a 9 a.m., which was just after the time where parents would drop their kids off to school. 6 and 9. So instead of investing in 5 hours a day, he was investing in 2. He was able to launch it, get 5 people in each session. He's since grown it to about 8 or 9. And our game plan is once he gets to 15 people in each session, then he can scale it to more hours without losing any money because he's already got it covered by launching his MVP first. The people in those sessions are still getting a great product. We're just not expanding all the hours all over the place thinking, all right, let's go diving in head first, invest a ton of money. And this is something I've learned over and over again in business. It is much harder to step back once you offer something than to never offer it in the first place. So if you offer a noon session, this happened with me. Here's an example. We were like, all right, let's survey our members and see when they want to come in. And a handful of people said they would come in during a lunchtime hour. So we launched a lunchtime hour. We had 2 people sign up for it. It just wasn't enough time for them to get in, get out, get showered, get back to work. And when we were like, finally, all right, we got to cut this after a 3-month trial, the 2 people were very upset because had we not offered it in the first place, they would have been perfectly fine staying in their regular sessions. But since we did offer it and then we were taking it away, they were getting grumpy about it. So it took some navigation to get them to buy back in. And I believe one of them didn't return, just wanted lunchtime hours only at that point because we had spoiled them. So you really have to think about it before you launch something new. And that's why I would recommend doing it in small bits. Morning classes, 6 and 9 would be a great idea. Those tends to be the sweet spots. Check the commute times in your area and check the school times in your area. And you can do very well during the morning slots. Start with those before work and right after school. Then you can fill in the gaps in between if they're popular enough. Second example, kids class. So I love the idea of running kids classes. Even if you have a majority adult clientele, if they know, like, and trust you, they're looking for their kids to be active, you could be a great resource for them. Does that mean you should give up your primary time slots to be kids class only? Absolutely not. You should do the MVP. You should launch it on a weekend and see if it fills. And if that fills, try a second weekend slot. And if that fills, maybe try a weekday evening slot after your busy hours. See if that fails. See if that fills, doesn't fail. So that way you can scale without losing your butt on labor and without pissing people off by offering them something and taking it back. So the kids class is another good example. I gave the example of the podcast in the warm-up. You see that I'm not in one of the podcast studios. If you're watching it on YouTube or on our website, if you're just listening to it, you can trust me. I just have my mountain background, dreaming about those mountains all day that I love to go hiking in. And our podcast studios are in our gyms, hour away for 30 minutes each way to our further facility because we have 3 around town. It's Saturday. I have an opportunity to spend with my kids, so I'm just doing the MVP. My choices are either I go in and shoot this and sacrifice an hour of time with my kids plus shooting time, or I just hop in this one room, shoot it up for you, give you the tips, and get it launched. And I mentioned this in some other podcasts too, that real artists ship. That means when you come up with an idea, you have to execute on it. You shouldn't go all in. Having the perfect, just the ideal situation is so rare. It's funny, when I'm thinking about business and thinking about my family, I'll often draw comparisons. We used to ask people, like, what's the best age to have a child? When should we have the second one? When should we have our third one? Because we're up to 3 right now. And it's always the same from the old wise gray hairs. I would say there's never really a perfect time. The perfect time is when it happens. So I suggest you take that same concept and apply it when you want to launch something new. Survey your members, see what they want. Maybe it's an earlier morning class. Maybe it's a different time slot altogether, later in the evening, another weekend hour. See if they want some opportunities for their kids. It's huge in our area right now, where kids are doing a lot of remote learning. So we launched a kids class, MVP'd it. We put it at 2 p.m. because our evening sessions don't start till 3. That way one person can roll right into their evening work without having to leave and giving an employee a split schedule. And the kids can make it. So we're able to fill out 3 classes, sell them all out, 3 locations, 3 full classes, 2 o'clock. We know that when school starts, we're going to lose that revenue, but right now we're going to launch that as an MVP. We're going to be able to serve our members when we can, and we're going to capture our kind of that value that members want from us, but also expect from us as a community partner. A lot of these podcasts will talk about joint ventures and being a good part of your community, and you can do that without overextending your business. So when you want to launch something new, maybe it's a small group. I talked earlier about the different hours. List down what is the least amount you can effectively do. And you might say, well, I don't want to throw out a crap product. You're probably going to throw out more of a crap product if you overcomplicate it, honestly. You don't have enough information, so you might as well simplify it, put out the minimal effective dose, explain that to your members that you're testing the waters. They'll be more understanding, they'll give you goodwill, and you'll be able to test your concept without firing people up when you want to pull it back. So I'm going to end today's podcast again with a reminder that the newsletter list is growing. We're still having those free videos for you. We have over 100 of them shot, where every day you'll get a mini lesson, 3 to 5 minutes, right to your inbox, from levelupyourgym.com.